Alrighty, welcome everyone. It is our final training session. This is so exciting. So let's get started. Okay. I'm gonna have technical difficulties again. I'm so sorry, everyone. We'll get it figured out. I don't know why it always does this. Okay, there we go. We'll learn one day. All right, so again, let's start with some introductions. If all of you want to put your name, pronouns, organization in the chat to get to know each other, our team will introduce ourselves. So my name is Charlotte Flanders. I'm the Education and Training Manager. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm not sure if Jenya's on just yet, but Katie, if you want to go and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I think I'm on.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, go ahead. Can you hear me? I was just joining with my phone. Hi, I'm Jenya Cassidy, and I'm the director of the California Work and Family Coalition. Go ahead, Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm the political organizing director, and my pronouns are she and her.
Hey everybody, my name is Mia and I'm the communications manager, and it's so nice to see everyone here for the last session. Go ahead, Angelica.
Hello everyone, my name is Angelica Andrade and I am the administrative assistant, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Alrighty, thanks guys. And then again, we are the California Work and Family Coalition. We are an alliance of organizations united in the belief that people should have the time and resource to care for themselves and for each other. We really focus on organizing, advocacy, and education, fighting for equitable paid family leave rights and policies. So our training goals for this week is to review the content, paid family leave, job protection laws, review paid sick and safe days, and apply our knowledge of paid family leave and job protection to the paid leave checklist. I know this can be sometimes a little bit repetitive, that we're going through this and reviewing it over and over again, but I think, it's really important. It is a lot of information. When I learn something new, I do have to do it quite a few times just because sometimes you miss a detail that you didn't realize you missed. So, let's just get to know these laws a bit better, ask more questions, and apply our knowledge. So our agenda for today is continue reviewing the content that we've learned the past 2 weeks, go through a couple scenarios with Katie, have a Q&A session about the content. So if any questions that you have from the previous training, or if we haven't answered, let us know during the Q&A session, put it in the chat. If you put it in the chat while we're doing the content and scenarios, that's completely fine. Mia will make sure to make note of those so we can get to them. Today, we're going to have a 10-minute breakout room. So get your paid leave checklist ready. We're going to be going through it together in smaller groups. We're going to talk about the positive impacts of paid family leave and the current barriers. We're going to go into ongoing support. Mia's going to talk about some assessment that you can do to get your paid family leave educator badge. And then we're going to wrap up our final training session. So this is super exciting, of a lot to cover. So let's get started. So for review, paid family leave is a wage replacement program. This is for California workers who need to take time off to bond with a new child or a seriously ill family member. The wage replacement occurs when you take this leave as you take 60 to 70% of your normal wages. This is up to $1,300 per week. This is up to 8 weeks as of July 1st, 2020. You can take this leave all at once or in parts. For example, you can take 4 weeks during a specific time and 4 weeks another time after you apply for the leave. But this does have to be taken into a 12-month period once you apply. The eligibility for paid family leave is that the California worker must pay into the state disability insurance. As you see here, if you don't know, or if the person that you're working with is not sure, just look at their pay stub. It should say CA SDI, so California State Disability Insurance. This means they're paying into paid family leave, they're eligible, this is their right. Another reasoning is that they're taking this leave to bond with a new child. So for bonding or caring for a family member, for a caregiving leave. And another thing that we always emphasize is that citizenship and immigration status do not affect eligibility for paid family leave benefits. This is something we do emphasize. Not a lot of people know about this, and it's important to cover. So it's not asked on the application, and if as long as you pay into SDI, that is your eligibility. Paid family leave is a wage replacement program only, and it does not require the employer to give you back your job when you return from leave, which is why we have job protection laws such as FMLA, CIFRA, New Parent Leave Act, and Pregnancy Disability. But there is a caveat with the New Parent Leave Act. So starting January 1st, 2021, the New Parent Leave Act will be no longer in effect because the California Rights Act, CIFRA, will be expanded because SB 1383 was passed. So what does this mean? As of January 1st, 2021, all employees who work for an employer with 5 or more employees and meet the other requirements of CIFRA, which is 1 year on the job and 1,250 hours in that year, will qualify for job protection. So to explain this a bit more, so currently the current eligibility requirements for job protection is that the employee must work 1 year on the job, work at least 25 hours a week for that whole year, works with 50 plus employees to take leave for their own illness or for caregiving leave, or 20 plus employees for new parents. So when you see 3 and 4, these two eligibility requirements will no longer be there as January 1st, as it is 5 or plus employees. So pregnancy disability leave. This is up to 4 months of unpaid job protective leave while disabled by pregnancy, childbirth, or related condition. This applies to all employers with 5 or plus employees, can be used for prenatal care, can be used all at once or intermittently. Your health benefits will continue while you're on this leave. And typically, pregnant mothers usually take this 4 weeks prior to the estimated due date and 6 or 8 weeks after the birth, depending if you have an uncomplicated pregnancy or a C-section. So paid and sick safe days. So another type of leave that you can take are paid and sick and safe days. This is more so for just when you're taking more short term. So California workers who are working 30 or more days within a year must be given a minimum of 3 paid sick days. This is the law, unless you work in San Francisco, San Jose, Oakland, Berkeley, or Los Angeles. There are local laws that have been expanded, and employers are allowed to give you more than 3 paid sick days. So sick and safe days can be used for your own illness, family member. Again, this is more like short-term treatment for like the flu, preventative care to get vaccinations or checkups. This can also be used for seeking services for domestic violence. This is 100% of the pay. It does carry job protection as long as the worker meets the eligibility requirements of working at least 90 days on the job, has worked in the state of California for 30 days, and have accrued the right amount of time. Employers cannot deny you requests for paid sick days or safe days. You don't have to tell your employer why you're using those sick or safe days, but you should notify them as soon as possible when you are taking that time off. But it is always anticipated when there's an emergency, an unanticipated illness or medical emergency. So it's okay to notify your employer as soon as it's practical. So that's a review. I know it was pretty quick. But I thought we could go into a couple scenarios with Katie applying our knowledge. So Katie, if you want to take it away.
Sure. Our first scenario is with Mateo. So Mateo's father is sick with a stomach bug and needs Mateo to take care of him while he recovers. So let's use the paid leave checklist to determine what Mateo's rights are to stay home from work to care for his father. So why is Mateo using the time off? So we're going to use the chat for this. So looking at this first question on the paid leave checklist, what would you all think is the most accurate option to choose? And you don't have to type out the whole thing. You could just type the first couple words. Yeah, so let's see what folks think in the chat. Any other guesses? This is a no pressure situation. It's totally okay if you're not sure. All right, cool. But we'll give people 15 more seconds, see if anyone else wants to jump in. Great. All right, thanks everybody. So let's go to the next slide. So yes, so this is a little confusing because the sort of fourth and fifth bullet points can look really similar. I think the key difference here is the sort of seriously ill wording on the care for seriously ill, parent, parent-in-law. From the information we were given in this scenario, this is sounding like more of a short-term illness with the information that we have right now. So taking care of your own or family member's health for 3 or fewer days would be kind of the most accurate qualifying reason, and parents are covered by paid sick days, so they're a covered family member. So next slide. All right, and so then here are Mateo's answers to the other questions on the paid leave checklist. He works in Los Angeles. He's worked at his job for 3 years. He works full time, so approximately 40 hours a week, and he has about 3 coworkers in a 75-mile radius. So next slide, please. So based on Mateo's situation and responses to the paid leave checklist, do you think it makes the most sense for Mateo to use paid sick and safe days or paid family leave to care for his father? So just your best guess in the chat, no pressure, whatever your best guess is based on this situation. All right, we'll give folks a couple more seconds to respond. Excellent, pouring in, lots of responses. Can we go to the next slide, please? So yes, you all are absolutely right. So based on Mateo's situation, it makes the most sense for him to use his paid sick and safe days. His father has a stomach bug, which is likely to be a short-term illness. And something I did want to just note about this case study is because Mateo works in Los Angeles, he would qualify for additional paid sick days because there's a local LA ordinance. And in the resources that Charlotte sent out accompanying our training last week, and we'll send out again after this training, she'll link resources because there are a couple of cities in California that have their own ordinances. So if you are supporting folks in that area, it's helpful to have that additional resource. So excellent job. So let's go ahead, Charlotte.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add, just like Katie said, if you looked at the email from last week, I did provide a resource where it's just a Google Doc this will be a live Google Doc. We'll update it as much as possible. Just look through their links. As Katie said, there are a lot of local ordinances that you can refer to and understand what are your rights. And also there are memos that you can use to take. So Mateo could go there and you can help him figure out what is the right type of leave he can take, and the sample letter that he could give to his employer saying that this is why he's taking his time off for this amount of days. So thanks, Katie. I'll go to the next slide.
All right, so now we're going to look at another scenario. The scenario is with Lisa and Maria, who are expecting their first baby. Lisa is 25 weeks pregnant and wants to know what her and Maria's rights are to take leave to bond with their new baby. So Lisa has worked full-time, so 40 hours a week for her employer for the past 5 years and has about 20 coworkers. Maria has worked 30 hours per week at her job for the past 2 years and has about 60 coworkers. Both Lisa and Maria pay into the SDI fund. So what we're going to do here is look at Lisa's rights to take time off first, and then we're going to look at Maria's rights and then see how that would all fit together for their situation. So next slide, please. So since Lisa is the pregnant parent, first what she would do is look at her rights under pregnancy disability leave for job protection and under state disability insurance for wage replacement. So based on what you know at this point from this scenario, if you all can just put in the guess what your best, or put in the chat, sorry, what your best guess is about if Lisa qualifies for pregnancy disability leave and state disability insurance. And if you're not sure, you can put that as well. All right, we'll give folks a couple more seconds, seeing lots of people entering in the chat. All right, great. So Charlotte, let's go to the next slide. So yes, you all were correct. Lisa does meet the eligibility requirements for pregnancy disability leave because she is pregnant and she works for an employer with 5 or more employees, and she pays into the state disability insurance fund, so she qualifies for state disability insurance. So if Lisa has an uncomplicated pregnancy and birth, she will likely take 4 weeks of job protected unpaid leave before her estimated due date and 6 to 8 weeks after giving birth. And so that's under the job protection law, and then she can receive partial wage replacement through state disability insurance. What typically happens is it's typically 6 weeks is sort of the standard amount of time if someone has a vaginal birth, and if they have a cesarean birth, it's typically 8 weeks. And as Charlotte covered earlier, if people feel like they need more time because they have complications, they can talk to their doctor about getting more time.
Hey, Katie.
Mm-hmm.
I just remembered, I forgot to add something, that some complications can also be like postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. And a lot of people actually don't know that mental health is considered a complication. So you can actually extend that pregnancy disability leave due to that. It doesn't always have to be related to a physical complication.
Thank you so much for highlighting that, Mia. Actually, postpartum mood disorders are the most common postpartum complication and can affect up to 1 in 5 pregnant people during the perinatal period by some estimates. So yeah, that's really important to highlight. And I'm seeing Kimberly comment, so thanks for highlighting that. All right, so let's use the paid leave checklist to see if Lisa qualifies for bonding leave as well. So looking at what is the reason why Lisa is taking this time, she's using the time to bond with a new child who was born within the past 12 months. Lisa works in Bakersfield. She's worked at her job for 5 years. She has worked 40 hours a week. So 40 hours a week times 52 weeks is about 2,080 hours. And she works for an employer with about 20 employees. So, and then looking at these eligibility requirements for FMLA, CFRA, and the New Parent Leave Act, what is your sort of best guess of if Lisa qualifies for job protected leave and for paid family leave? We've got some folks entering in the chat. All right, we'll give everyone a couple more seconds. All right, next slide, please, Charlotte. Yes, so based on her responses to these questions, Lisa would qualify for both paid family leave for bonding and job protection while she's on leave because she pays into the SDI fund. She works for an employer with more than 20 employees. She's been with her employer for more than 1 year, and she's worked more than the 1,250 hours required. So yeah, so based on bonding leave, she qualifies for wage replacement for up to 8 weeks and unpaid job protected leave for up to 12 weeks. So now we're going to take a look at Maria's situation. So, and use the paid leave checklist for her. So what's important about, since Maria's situation is because she is not the pregnant parent, she's only looking at paid family leave for bonding to see if she qualifies for that. So the qualifying reason for her is to bond with a new child born within the past 12 months. Maria also works in Bakersfield. She's worked at her job for 2 years. She works 30 hours per week, so about 1,560 hours in the past year, and she has about 60 coworkers. So based on, again, these eligibility requirements for job protection and for paid leave for bonding, what is your best guess about if Maria qualifies for paid leave and for job protection for bonding? All right, let's give folks a couple more questions. I mean, seconds to answer. Sorry, got tongue-tied there. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So yes, based on the information that we were given, Maria would be able to qualify for bonding leave and would qualify for up to 8 weeks of partial wage replacement and 12 weeks of unpaid job protected leave. I liked the person who responded, I hope so. And yes, that is what we're always hoping, right? Is that people will meet the qualifications, and we know not everyone does. Next slide, please. So what we wanted to show here is kind of how all of this would fit together for this family. So before Lisa gives birth, she could take about 4 weeks of leave from her job. And then on the 4th week, if Lisa gave birth by cesarean, then she would still be on pregnancy disability leave following that. And that's when Maria's bonding leave would start. So they would take the next 8 weeks together. That would be Lisa's pregnancy disability leave to recover and Maria's bonding leave. Then at 12 weeks, Lisa's pregnancy disability leave would end and her bonding leave would start, but Maria's bonding leave would end. So that's kind of how it could all fit together for this family. And there's sort of different ways that these leaves can match up, but we wanted to sort of give you all a picture of what this might look like for this particular scenario. Next slide, please, Charlotte. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to highlight about that is that example is based on both Lisa and Maria taking paid leave and job protection when they have both wage replacement and job protection. They do qualify both for an additional 4 weeks of job protected unpaid leave. And so some people will choose to take additional time where they're unpaid. Not everyone chooses to do that, but that is an option as well. So this is just one way that this could all fit together. So I just wanted to highlight that. All right, and with that, I will hand it back to Charlotte.
Thank you, Katie. Those are really great scenarios. So we're going to have about a few minutes for Q&A, so you can ask any questions regarding the last few weeks, the content, any questions about the scenarios. I am going to stop sharing my screen because after questions, we're going to go into the breakout rooms. And while Jenya or Katie answers the questions, I'm going to start assigning people to some breakout rooms. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you guys can start asking your questions.
So there is one question that I got earlier and I put it in the chat. Somebody asked, if an employer offers their own program for California disability insurance and employees sign up, would that change any eligibility status? I probably won't be answering this question, but the clarifying question I would have is, when you say their own program for disability insurance, what do you mean by that? You mean like their own paid sick days, or like their own like paid sick leave policy?
Or disability, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a clarifying question.
Yeah. Disability.
Disability. So it depends on if they're a public employee, because in fact, if I were a private employer and I just decided to have disability insurance, that doesn't change anything about California state disability. But what can be confusing is that the reason that the majority of public employees in California actually don't qualify for paid leave is not for any other reason than that they don't pay into SDI. And that is because a lot of the public employers, just because they didn't have SDI to begin with, they had a different kind of disability, totally does different things. It's not quite the same. And there is a way that public employees as a group can opt in. That's kind of a whole other issue. And it is the vast majority of California workers do pay into SDI. So that's the only time that it would make a difference. And the difference really is that you're not paying into SDI. If you're paying into SDI, even if your employer had something, the only difficulty is you might have to figure out how they go together to give you full pay, or how exactly you can use both. I hope that makes sense. It's a little.
I have a clarifying question to that, Jenya, because I think like when I was pregnant and I took leave, my job offered its own like payment program for me. So I was eligible for disability insurance through the state of California because I was paying into SDI. And then in addition to that, I was receiving my regular salary for a certain number of weeks while I was on maternity leave. So being on maternity leave and having money from my job didn't mean that I got less money from the state of California, because it's not like a complimentary program, right? I get both because my job is enabling me to have that benefit and the state of California is enabling me to have that benefit. So I was lucky that my job was like, we still pay our employees their salary for this many weeks while you're on maternity leave. And so is that what you're asking, Cecia? Like, your California benefit isn't going to be affected if your job offers you a benefit. And I'll let Cecia respond to that. Kimberly's saying, my employee offer this, and what they did is pay the difference of what was not included. Yes.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it, is to pay the difference. And here's why. If they paid you a full or a bigger amount and you had SDI at the same time, that could get you in trouble with SDI, because you are not supposed to be getting over what your regular pay is when you're getting SDI. So the way to do it would be either to have them pay the difference, which is what my employer did when I had the twins like 15 years ago, or take it, take one and then take the other if your employer lets you, if you have that much, if you need it for that much time. You just don't want to be making more than 100% of your income through SDI and an employer paid benefit.
Okay. I think that's what happened with me too. And it's funny, I don't remember it that well. It was only 4 years ago, but okay, great. Cecia says we answered her question. That was a great question. Thanks for asking. And Kimberly, thanks for chiming in, because that is a really good example. Awesome. Anyone else have questions before we move on? If not, there will be more opportunity after the fact and even in the breakout room as well. I'll hand it back over to you, Charlotte.
All right. Yeah. So if you have questions, you can ask it in the breakout room. And if not, we'll have another Q&A session at the end before we wrap up. So no worries, there'll be more time. So we're going to have a breakout room. There's going to be 3 rooms. Our staff, so Katie, me, Mia, Jenya, and Angelica will be leading it. It'll be me and Angelica, Jenya, and Katie, and Mia. And how this is going to work, we would like to simulate the paid leave checklist. So we, the staff, will be your patient or your community member, and we're going to tell you our scenario, and you're going to go through the paid leave checklist with us. So you're going to ask us the question. We'll copy and paste the paid leave checklist to the chat just in case you don't have it. And we would like one person in the scenario, in the group, just for example, one person asked the first question, the next person asked the second question, and as a group and as a team, work together and help us figure out if we take paid family leave, and if we have job protection. And if you have any questions, we're all in there to answer your questions about the breakout room. So let's get started. So this will be for 10 minutes. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and open them up.
Hello.
There. Hi.
Okay, I have Katarina or Katharina? And then
So
go ahead.
I'm here. Oh, if you can say Katarina, that's originally my name, but otherwise Katharina, Katrina is fine.
Katarina. I'll try to say it right. And then Cecia, am I saying the name right? And
Yes.
then Hilda and Kelly. Okay, great. Okay, we don't have a ton of time, so let's jump straight in. So the first question I'm supposed to ask y'all is to everyone go around and explain paid family leave in 1 to 2 sentences for me. And if you can't do it, that's perfectly fine. So what is paid family leave? Who wants to go first?
It's a benefit that may allow you to take care of a loved one or bond with your child, and we can determine eligibility, but it allows you to do this without us, while also receiving some income.
Yes, I love that. Yes, it's a wage replacement program that allows you to take care of your family member or to bond with a child. Awesome. And if I will make everyone go around and do it, but that's basically what it is. Because we want people to know, first and foremost, that it does not offer job protection. That's a separate law, right? Let me close my door. It's a little loud. Okay, so basically this scenario is I'm your coworker and I need to take time off to care for my grandmother who has dementia, and my grandmother lives in another state, and I want to know if I'm going to have job protected time off with wage replacement to take care of my grandmother. So let me go ahead and copy and paste the checklist for y'all. And then I'll just pick one of you to walk me through it. Let me see if you all could see this. So here's the checklist, and we're gonna do a little simulation here. So I'll just go ahead and ask Cecia, could you ask me, like, I'm your coworker Mia, and I need to go care for my grandmother, my grandmother who has dementia. So could you walk me through this so I can find out if I have job protected and wage replacement paid leave?
Sure. So can you tell me what city do you live in right now, Mia? You work in. I'm sorry, work in.
That's okay. So I live in Long Beach.
Okay. And how long have you worked in your current employer?
10 years.
Okay. And how many hours did you work in this workplace in the last 12 months?
I've been working full time, so about 40 hours a week.
Okay. And how many employees do you think the company has within a 75-mile radius?
About 40 employees. And then, so just one thing I would add is the first section, which I know doesn't look that great in the chat, is asking me, why do I need to use this time off? And just to make sure that that reason is listed in that checkbox area, which it is. It's to care for a seriously ill parent, grandparent. So that is a qualifying event. And so the question is, okay, now that you know all this information, am I going to qualify for job protected caregiving leave? Does anyone know?
Yes, I would say you are.
Does anyone else want to chime in with a response?
Can I actually ask, can you tell me what your employees number is again? Because you got cut off on my side, on my end.
So there's only about 40 employees at my job.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so just to summarize, which great job, I actually will not qualify for job protection. I will qualify for wage replacement. The reason why is because, and it's a little confusing at the moment because we're in the middle of a law transition. Right now, to take caregiving leave, I only qualify for job protection if I work somewhere with 50 or more employees, which is really unfortunate, right? I'm 10 employees below the threshold. And so they're saying you can take wage replacement for caregiving leave, but you will not receive job protection because you do not work somewhere with 50 or more employees, which is really unfortunate for somebody who, you know, I can't control like how many employees my job has. So that sucks. But starting January 1st, 2021, right, the threshold is being dropped from 50 to 5. So then I will qualify. So then a response could be, okay, you are eligible for wage replacement. Maybe I have a good relationship with my employer. Maybe they're okay with me taking that time off. You would recommend that I have that discussion if I really need to take the leave now and see if they can hold my job, right? Obviously they're not legally required to, but you can suggest that. You can also suggest that maybe I coordinate with a sibling or a family member who maybe does work at a place with 50 or more employees. Could they take that job protected leave until I start in January? You know, since I work somewhere with less than 50, I should wait until January when the threshold drops so that I'm protected, right? But I will, again, still have that wage replacement. Does anyone have any questions on that?
If you start today,
yeah,
and because you have a good relationship with your employer, they say they're going to hold your job. If it goes into January, that law will come into play, and then they would be, they would have to protect your job, correct? Or they would have.
Yes.
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 Okay.
So the law that happened this year as well is the expansion from 6 weeks to 8 weeks. So if I started this bonding caregiving leave, like mid-December or even the beginning of December for 4 weeks, and then I have 4 weeks in January, they could still legally fire me in December, right? Even if they said they're gonna hold my job, they can still legally, right? There's room there. But come January, my job is safe. So the response would be, you're not legally protected until January, and you will be eligible for up to 8 weeks of wage replacement through paid family leave for caregiving. And and it is okay, and I don't know if we taught you all this, but it is okay for me as a Californian to care for my grandmother who lives out of state. It's perfectly okay to do that. I'm still covered. They don't have to live in California. So thank you all. That was such a good simulation. Does anyone else have any questions? I know I went through that really fast. How many minutes do we have? We still have 2 minutes. Look at us. We're doing well.
Just to
I
confirm,
have some questions. Oh, go ahead.
just to confirm that last bit, if it's out of the country, you can still take it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
So I had a question, just kind of in general, what if someone, let's say, works in San Francisco and is paying into it, it's on their pay stub, but they live in the Central Valley. Can they go by San Francisco's extra paid family leave type, not the paid family leave, but the extra sick days, or do they have to go by the county they live in?
That's a really good question. I think they have to go by the county they live in, but I would need to double check that. So you're saying that they work in San Francisco, virtually, for
No, a ton of our clients work in the Bay Area, but they live in Modesto, Turlock, Stockton.
Got it. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think it's where you physically are that matters. Okay, could you walk me through the scenario one more time, because I want to make sure I can follow up with the team.
Yeah, so let's say someone's working, they have a job in San Francisco, and whether it's remote or there, but they live in the Central Valley, so they're commuting there. Can they get the extra things because they work in San Francisco, or does it have to go by San Joaquin or Stanislaus County that they're living in?
Okay, I'm gonna write that down and double check, because I'm not 100% here. Let me write that down. So are they eligible for extra, are we talking about the paid sick and safe days thing, or
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay, I will.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And that was Katarina, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll make sure I get to that. And then I think there was one more question. Oh no, our breakout room's ending. Sorry, I'll record that question. Oh, I think we're still in our breakout room. I think she might have added more time for us. Let me see. Okay, but it looks like I answered everyone's questions. Is anyone...
I don't know, we're gonna get pinged back.
Okay. There we go.
Hello. Sorry, that was so quick.
Yeah. It was really fast.
Yes. Before we move on, does anyone have any questions? I know with my session, we are wrapping up pretty fast. So does anyone have any clarifying questions before we move on?
Yeah, someone from my group had a question I couldn't answer. The question was, What if you work in San Francisco, but you live in the Central Valley, like you're commuting to San Francisco? Are you eligible for the extra paid sick and safe days that are available in San Francisco with the ordinance? Jenny is nodding her head yes. So it sounds like if you work there, you're still eligible for the additional paid sick and safe days, even though you live somewhere that doesn't have that special ordinance. Thank you. That
Good
was the only extra
question.
question from our group. And yes, that was a really good question. Thank you.
Yes.
Cool, cool, cool.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to highlight, which I'm sure everyone else highlighted as well, but in my group, we were talking about how the timing of the need to care is really important. You know, if the scenario were happening now, what this person's rights would be versus after January 1st. So just wanted to highlight that. I'm sure other groups are talking about that as well.
Great. Yeah, so if we're going to keep going, if for some reason, if you didn't understand something or if the end of the session went too quickly, go ahead and ask it. We will have another Q&A session soon. We just have a few more slides to talk about that I definitely want to get to. Alrighty. So we did the breakout rooms and I really enjoyed that. I hope all of you enjoyed it as well and it was helpful. So one thing we do want to highlight is the positive impacts. So paid family leave was passed in 2002 and enacted in 2004. So it's been quite a while now this law has been in place, and there's been a lot of research regarding the outcomes, so the positive impacts and health outcomes of this. So based on a lot of research here in California, there have been improved health outcomes for new parents and children. Paid family leave has been associated with reducing infant and post-neonatal mortality. It has improved breastfeeding rates and duration. It has increased the likelihood of children attending well baby visits and receiving vaccinations. And with the increased rates and duration of breastfeeding, this is associated with lower infection and sudden infant death syndrome. So there's many positive outcomes. It allows people in caregiving, allows people to care for a family member to remain in the workforce. Caregivers not only contribute to the economy, but they can also secure their retirement and lifetime wage growth. Poverty, financial stress, gender inequity within employment are all associated with a higher risk of interpersonal violence and domestic violence. With paid family leave and paid sick days, these promote economic independence that prevent the fact, which is a preventative factor against interpersonal violence. And then finally, paid family leave helps close the wage gap between men and women. Women are more likely to remain in the workforce and fulfill their lifelong earning potential. So these laws have really been so beneficial. I mean, these research have not only been done in California, but abroad that have paid family leave has been enacted for decades now. So they're so beneficial. But sadly, there's still many barriers. So this is why we do our work. The legislation and education, all your rules are so important to overcome these barriers and make sure people have access to the rights that they pay into. But we still have a lot more work to do, which Katie, I think it would be so great for you to talk about some of these barriers and in relation to legislation and how we can all get involved.
Sure, thanks, Charlotte. So if you're looking at the list of barriers, there's sort of two general categories I think that they fall into, which are the two areas of work of the coalition. One of them is just related to education and knowing your rights, right? So one of the biggest barriers is lack of awareness, or that people need support to navigate the application process. We have data that shows that there's communities where there's particularly low awareness, for instance, amongst monolingual Spanish speakers or new immigrants. And that's really where your role as educators can make a huge difference for people, right? Like, you could be the person who tells someone about paid leave, and that could be, you know, truly life-changing for them, right? All of the health benefits that Charlotte was talking about, you know, someone may be able to stay in the workforce because they know about this program. So that's really really, really crucial that your role in letting people know and helping them to navigate the process, because sometimes people just need a little support when they're sort of figuring out how to apply, you know, the sample letters and things like that. And then the other category of barriers is just, there are some things that the law doesn't cover, right? So sometimes the law itself needs to change, and that's something that we work on as well. So we've been very focused on expanding job protection. We had a huge victory this year that was truly years in the making. Folks like Jenya and coalition members have been working on trying to expand job protection for more than a decade. And one of the ways that we do that is by providing opportunities for people to share their experience, either about having paid leave and why it made an impact on their life, or not having paid leave and how it impacted their life, and really educating our legislators about what the impacts of this are. So there are opportunities for you all to get involved in legislative advocacy as well, because we're always working to improve both the rights and sort of the number of folks who are protected, and also the application process itself. So with that, I'll hand it back to Charlotte.
Thanks, Katie. So yeah, our legislative session and period really starts in January. So if you're interested in getting involved, or the people that you work with, and you think there's a powerful story to expand paid family leave, make it more equitable, please get in contact with me or Katie, and be part of that process. So now that we're wrapping up training 3, oh my gosh, can't believe it. You guys are our first paid family leave educator cohort. This is so exciting. And for us, it's so important. I will be sending another evaluation. Please take the time to fill it out. It's really beneficial for me and for us to know like how we've been doing. Even if it's criticism, that's completely fine. It helps us grow. Any feedback is important. So please fill it out. It will be anonymous. Moving forward with this, we will continue to provide you support. This is not just training, good job, now you're done. This is training, and we'll continue to support. So on an individual basis, please always reach out. If you still don't understand something, if you need help, maybe setting up your own education, maybe a webinar, or educating someone and you still want that support, we are here for you. Feel free to reach out at any time. I will continue to be in contact with all of you, checking in from time to time, see how it's going. As far as group support, if all of you come to a consensus and think that you need one more training, go over something else, we can set up that group support. One thing that we would really love is that if we could all come back together in January, give all of you a few months to utilize this information and come back in January, and it'd be more like a focus group. I would love to hear how it's going, how are your community members and clients are receiving this, and what can we improve upon to better reach your communities. So this is the support that will keep going. I will be keeping in touch, sending emails, and always reach out to us. And as we've been saying, as we continue to develop resources and materials, we will email it to you. Even as the trainings are done, we will always email you whatever updated information and materials we have that you can utilize as educators. Any questions before we go into about paid leave educator badges, the assessment, and how to continue to stay connected? Any questions? If not, we can continue, and then we can ask questions at the end as well. So Mia, if you want to talk about the certification for the paid leave educator, that'd be great.
Yep, no problem. Thanks, Charlotte. So as somebody mentioned in the beginning, I think it was Kimberly, like, what do you do now as you move into your work? Maybe you want something from us that indicates that you've been through 3 trainings, you've done this work, and we want to make sure that we are providing that for you all. So next week, we're going to send you a very simple 20-question assessment. You can call it a quiz, you can call it a test. It's going to be open book, and it's designed to evaluate that you've gone through all 3 trainings and that you understand the material. You do not need to be an attorney or an expert. The goal of this PFL educator training is to help you understand the basics of paid leave and job protection, and to be able to find the answers and point people in the right direction. So say you don't know everything by heart, that's totally fine. You can say, oh, I don't know exactly, but I know where to look that up. Or I'm not sure exactly what to do in your unique situation, but I know where to point you. And the reason why it's open book is, again, for the same reason that it's about you knowing where to find the answers, not you having all the answers by heart. So an 80% score is required to receive your digital PFL Educator badge. It'll be an image, an icon that you can receive from me, that you can use on your website, your email signatures, your materials that you use in your practice and in your work, to indicate that you have been through the California Work and Family Coalition training program. Next slide. So I also wanted to let you all know that for your continuing education, you can join us every Friday at 3 p.m. on Instagram Live for Paid Family Leave Fridays. We go live every Friday for 15 to 30 minutes to talk about different stories about paid family leave, why advocacy matters, why activism matters, ways that the law has expanded, ways that the laws need to still be expanded, and what we can do about that. It's a very casual, more conversational, informal way of connecting with the coalition and learning more. You know, we have these great trainings, but I think some people also learn well by just those 15-minute snippets where you can just hear people having a conversation and you can join us in that. So that's every Friday, 3 o'clock on our Instagram. So yeah, we wanted to make sure everybody knew about that. And you can also send your clients and people you work with to that as well, because we do answer questions. So part of the Paid Family Leave Friday's weekly show is to answer people's questions. So you can have people DM us, you can have people send us an email, and we also will be emailing the replay. So if you miss it and you can't be there live, we're gonna have a replay that will also be emailed out to our newsletter every single week. So if you're not on our main newsletter, make sure you sign up for that as well. Next slide. And we just want to say thank you so much. And thank you for just being so willing to work on this stuff with us, to learn all this new information. I know it can be scary to learn a bunch of new stuff, but all of you did it and you did an amazing job. And I wanted to remind all of you to please connect with us again at our website, workfamilyca.org, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at workfamilyca. I'll let Charlotte send it off. She is the incredible organizer of all this. She organized all the materials and all this information and all the guides and everything you're seeing. She really masterminded this whole thing out. So I'll pass it on to Charlotte. I just want to say thank you, Charlotte, for doing such a good job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Mia. And I couldn't have done it without all of them, Mia, Katie, Angelica, and Jenya, without their support. So, gosh, I'm getting emotional because, oh my gosh, you guys are our first paid leave educator group. And I'm so excited. I hope this was beneficial. I hope you were able to learn and grow. And again, please fill out the evaluations. It's really going to help me and it's going to help us grow. And please stay connected with us. We'd love to continue to connect. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of everyone. But thank you. Yeah, we have 1 minute left. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. And I appreciate all of you participating in this. Thanks again.
I'm giving everyone a round of applause.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
achievement. Good job, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys.
So many more people are going to know how to take paid leave because of you. And this is just so exciting. So thank you all. All right. It's 1 o'clock.
All right. Thank you again. Stay connected and I'll be emailing soon. Thank you. Bye.